There lived a very pretty princess in an ancient kingdom in West Africa. This princess was so beautiful that she was the admiration of even the neighboring kingdoms. But as beautiful as she was vain and arrogant. And she liked to hear praises of her beauty, and she enjoyed the fact that she was the princess of the kingdom called Ojirami. Her father, the king, was very proud of her for being beautiful and confident. While the people of the kingdom respected her for being the princess, most of them harbored secret dislike for her, especially for her arrogance, which the people of Ojirami were not known for. The people of Ojirami were known for their politeness and submissiveness, which Princess Ozu does not represent. In the palace, there was an old servant named Oguma. Oguma has served 3 kings, and this present king makes the 4th. Oguma was very loyal to the throne, so much so that this current king, King Otaru, made him the head servant in the palace. This makes him to now no longer do all the chores for servants, but supervised other servants and delegated duties around the palace. Oguma had a daughter and 2 sons, who all lived with him in the servants' huts behind the palace. His daughter's name was Unedi. Unedi was a quiet girl who liked to help. Her mother had trained her to be a good girl. She was equally trained on not only to know how to work at home, but to cook very well. She was always at home to help her mother, and sometimes she followed her father to the palace on the request of the queen to help her with some domestic chores. The queen had a special liking for Unedi because the girl was good and knew how to do many things, particularly cooking. The queen, in response, always rewarded the girl with clothes and food items. She even began to refer to Unedi as her daughter. One day, the queen was in the backyard within the palace with Princess Ozu when Unedi came to join her father, who was at the backyard, supervising some workers. Princess Ozu had been very upset because one of the servants had broken a little earthenware vase while cleaning her room, and this vase has been one of the favorites of Princess Ozu. Princess Ozu had just reported the incidents to her mother, the queen, as if the many slaps she had dealt the servant were not enough. The queen, on realizing that Princess Ozu had already meted out slap punishment on the servant, appealed to her to forget about the vase. So, upon sighting Oguma, the servant whom the daughter Unedi had come to meet, she yelled, "Old man!" The queen was shocked to hear her daughter speak to the old servant in that manner because he was an old man, even older than the king her father. Oguma walked up to Princess Ozu, who was visibly angry. "My beautiful princess, you look really upset. Is everything all right?" "Why will everything be all right when you simply cannot assign a more careful person to tidy up my room?" "What kind of clumsy, stupid, and irresponsible servant did you send to clean my room? That hopeless idiot has broken my choice vase." As Princess Ozu yelled at Oguma, Unedi was uncomfortable that the princess who was about her age was talking to her father in that manner. Unedi turned her face away, not wanting to see the expression on her father's face upon the rudeness of the princess. Unedi could never have been close to Princess Ozu. She always looked down on her and had once warned her never to stay for any longer than necessary in her presence because of her low status. "I am sorry, my princess. The beautiful pride of the kingdom, the king's true daughter. I take responsibility. Please do not be offended. I will personally replace the vase," Oguma said as he tried to find his courage to talk. "Will you shut up? Can you hear yourself vomit the rubbish? Replace the vase with what? Your wretched stipend?" Princess Ozu retorted. "Ozu, stop this rudeness of yours at once," the queen chided her. "Does he look like your mate?" Princess Ozu was shocked at her mother for not only reprimanding her but seemingly taking sides with a servant. "Mother, are you scolding me because of a mere servant?" she asked the queen. "What you are doing is wrong," the queen replied. "You very well know that Mr. Oguma is not your mate, and secondly, he is old enough to be your father. Have you forgotten that he is even older than your father, the king? Everyone deserves some respect. The fact that he is a servant does not mean he does not deserve respect. You are only fortunate to be born as a princess, and that isn't any license for you to be rude to him or anyone else. He is not the one who broke the vase, yet he apologized and offered to replace it, and you are still not placated but continued to insult him. Why then did you report to him the servant who broke the vase? Princess Ozu was hurt. She stared at Oguma and then his daughter, Unedi. She turns and walked away in annoyance. The queen apologized to Oguma. The queen was happy to see Unedi. "My daughter," the queen said, facing Unedi, "it is good you came. I was thinking you could help me make that delicious food you prepared last week," the queen said, smiling at the young girl. Meanwhile, long before now, had been a prince in the nearby kingdom called Prince Ajulo. Prince Ajulo was a very handsome young man. He was tall and carried himself confidently like a king-to-be. Prince Ajulo was from the kingdom named Dagbala. According to the myth, the founders of the two kingdoms of Ojirami and Dagbala were actually brothers of the same mother who had come to settle in the area and had established the kingdoms, one occupying the land a distant apart from the other in order to accommodate enough land for their farming. So their brotherhood had continued as the men from Ojirami Kingdom freely married the women from Dagbala Kingdom and vice versa. Princess Ozu had always fancied Prince Ajulo from Dagbala and had always dreamed of being married to him and becoming the queen of Dagbala. One day when Prince Ajulo and his father visited Ojirami on the invitation of King Otaru, he had said that the women of Ojirami were very beautiful, and he would want to follow his father's footstep by marrying a girl from Ojirami. Prince Ajulo's mother was an Ojirami daughter, whom his father had met on one of his sojourns as a young man. Everyone had laughed when Prince Ajulo talked about marrying an Ojirami woman, but Princess Ozu had begun dreaming that she would be the woman Prince Ajulo would marry. Princess Ozu had liked him the first time she had set her eyes on him, and to her, he had appeared to have been very polite to her and had smiled at her and called her my princess, just like everyone in Ojirami Kingdom called her. One day, King Otaru announced that the palace would be having a royal guest from Dagbala, and he would stay among them for 2 market days. This royal guest was Prince Ajulo. This news gladdened Princess Ozu's heart very much, and she figured the time had come for her to show him how a good queen she would make for him. The queen sent for Unedi to help her cook a special meal, because she was convinced no one else could cook a meal that will be so befitting for the royal guest's taste. The queen had thought of employing Unedi to work as the palace cook. But the girl's mother had said, since the queen took her as a daughter, there was no need for her to be employed. She suspected that the girl's mother did not want her daughter to be a servant in the palace like her husband. She did not insist on her intention. However, whenever Unedi cooked for them, her entire family always enjoyed the meal. "The girl is so adorable," the queen told Princess Ozu about Unedi, "and she is always willing to help." "Why won't she be always willing to help when she is a lowly girl who is just the daughter of a servant who has lived all his life as a servant?" Princess Ozu said arrogantly. Her mother frowned. "Ozu, where did you get this attitude of yours from? It is not always good to look down on people because of their place in life. A child of a pauper today may own the world tomorrow," the queen said. Princess Ozu laughed. "Mother, it is Unedi, the daughter of Oguma, you are talking about here and no one else. That girl is a poor girl, and definitely has nothing in front of her. No future, except the one not different from her present state." The queen stared at the princess in disappointment and said nothing any further. When Prince Ajulo, the prince of Dagbala, arrived Ojirami Kingdom that evening, Princess Ozu was on ground to receive him. Prince Ajulo looked so handsome that Princess Ozu almost lost her breath. "What a paragon of beauty you are! Ojirami Kingdom must be happy to have you as their princess." The princess felt her legs wobbled. She smiled and left. She went to the hall where her father was already seated with some of his high chiefs. She greeted them. It didn't take long for King Otaru to notice the excitement on Princess Ozu's face. "My princess, you look very happy. Tell me, is the reason because of the guest?" he asked. She smiled and somewhat turned shyly said, "The Prince of Dagbala just complimented my beauty." The king laughed. His chiefs joined him in the laughter, too. "Who knows? He may want to steal you away," one of the chiefs remarked. "Prince Ajulo is actually here to find a wife. He wants to marry from Ojirami because his mother is from here and she is a good and wonderful woman," the king remarked. Just then the queen came into the hall, closely followed by Unedi, with the food which she placed on the large table. She bowed her head before the king, and the king smiled at her. Unedi smiled and thanked the king. Princess Ozu clapped at her. "Okay, Unedi, hurry up and leave here because our special royal guest comes," she said to Unedi, who turned and hurried away. Prince Ajulo entered the hall, and he was warmly welcomed, and he took his seat. Prince Ajulo exclaimed as he enjoyed the meal. "This is so delicious. It reminds me so much of my mother's cooking. You know, my mother is a great cook. She loves to cook, and even as a queen, she cooks for the family. She is very humble, and she makes me see how a true woman should be," he said. "Ojirami women are good cooks," the queen boasted. Prince Ajulo looked at the queen and then at the princess. The princess flashed him a dazzling smile. "I want to believe that one of you cooked this meal," the prince said. "No, none of us did. I can cook even more than this, but since I became queen, I stopped going into the kitchen to cook again," the queen said. "And same with my daughter since she is a princess." Looking surprised, Prince Ajulo asked, "So who cooked this meal?" "It is one of our servants' daughter," the queen said. "You, go fetch Unedi, the daughter of the chief servant." She sent one of the servants present. "What do you mean your daughter is a princess? Therefore she stopped cooking." "I am surprised to hear that." "When there are many servants and cooks here, why should any of us royalty bother ourselves with such chores anymore?" the queen said. Prince Ajulo nodded his head, though not fully satisfied by her reason. "That's interesting. My mother made sure my sisters cooked when they were growing up and till date. That does not mean I cannot cook well." Princess Ozu quickly chipped in a bid to save the situation. "There is nothing in cooking good food. I can cook very well." Unedi walked in just after Princess Ozu was trying to take charge of the conversation, and attention shifted. "This is Unedi, the chief servant's daughter who prepared the meal," the queen said. The prince showered her with praises. The king agreed with the prince as well as the chiefs that Unedi was an exceptional cook. The following morning, Princess Ozu set about cooking a meal personally. When she finished, she brought the food personally to the prince and served him herself. "I have personally prepared this meal for you to have a taste and confirm how very well I can cook too." Prince Ajulo was glad. He tasted the food and nodded his head. "It is not bad." He washed his hands and drank some water. He thanked the princess for the food and said, "Your food tastes really nice, but my tongue still longs for that special taste in that food I ate yesterday." Princess Ozu was not happy. She suddenly developed a deep-seethed hatred for Unedi. "I will never allow that girl to ever come to this palace again while the prince is around," she thought to herself. "Gone out for a walk? To where exactly did he say?" Princess Ozu asked one of the guards when she returned to see the prince that afternoon. "He wasn't specific. He only said within the kingdom. He even told us not to lead him," the guard said. Princess Ozu was worried and wondered where he could have gone to. "Could he be out searching for another wife when I am right here and very much available?" She decided to go and find him. Just as she turned the bend behind the main palace, There Prince Ajulo was, and talking with Unedi. She got even more shocked at what she saw. The prince holding a servant's daughter's hands and talking so closely to her and even looking into her eyes. How could he stoop so low, she wondered. "My prince," she called after clearing her throat. The prince turned and saw her. He smiled at her but didn't release Unedi's hands. "My princess, I think I have found what I came here to look for. Unedi is not just a wonderful cook, but also has good character and a kind heart. While I have been talking to her, I discovered she is the kind of woman I want." Princess Ozu was visibly shaken. "You mean you will marry Unedi? A mere daughter of the servant who has lived all his life as a servant and will definitely die as one? What is the important to me is not status, but what is inside the person. A woman who is a good cook and has a kind heart is who I want." The princess was shattered as she exited heartbroken. So Unedi would become the princess of Dagbala and then later the queen? She remembered what her mother had said about a pauper's daughter today who could possibly own the world tomorrow. Despite her hurt, she realized that it was wrong to be arrogant and to look down on people because one never knows what tomorrow holds.